Hello, my name is Izwi Wazara, and I'll be doing my project on the demographic indicator of infant mortality, which is on the y-axis, and then income per person or GDP is on the x-axis. If we go to the beginning, where data was first started to be collected, we first see just European countries pop up. Sweden, France come up, and that's where majority of the data started to be collected. But as we go on, we see that there's more and more countries coming in from not only from Asia, from Central Asian and Europe, but now we see little red dots and blue dots, which mean America, Africa, and South Asia. Well, an important thing, the bigger the dot is, means the bigger the population. And even though it's hard to see right now, the population is actually increasing. A general trend that's there is that as a country has more income, the infant mortality drops, and this is because more money is spent towards healthcare. But if you see in the African sub-Sahara African countries, uh, the infant mortality stays high because the economy stays pretty low. If you're on the far left side, it means the income per person is low. Far right side, income per person is high, and the higher you are vertically, it's higher the rate the infant mortality is. Well, to focus on one country first, we'll focus on Sweden, which Sweden was actually the first country to have data in Gapminder. So if we scroll back and then scroll forward, we see the trend that Sweden has. And Sweden, if you can see, at only at a certain point did it actually start to follow the trend of going down perfectly or at a more steady pace. But if we go all the way back up top, there's a lot of up and down here. And this is because in 1804 there was an outbreak of smallpox. In 1805 to 1807 there was war against Napoleon and his armies. In 1808 Sweden went into a war with Russia, and then to 1812 to 1813 there was war against Napoleon and Denmark, which is also very. This is also where people lost a lot of Sweden lost a lot of the population. In 1834 there was an epidemic of cholera that troubled the country, and this is very significant towards infant mortality because firstly, with the diseases that are outbreaks, since infants when they first born don't have a strong immune system, they're very susceptible to diseases and contracting them, and then their body not be able to fight them off, which is also why even Sweden, one of to this day one of the most top countries with a very good economy, actually started up with high infant mortality deaths because there was a lot of diseases and they didn't have the healthcare or the technology to take care of them. And also the wars, as the economy wasn't being able to progress because women weren't given the power to do what the men were doing. There wasn't a lot of money going around in the country itself because a lot of it was put towards the war itself. So people weren't actually focusing on the Swedish economy, they're focusing on keeping out the intruders or battling them in different areas. But then as we carry on, Sweden had been able to follow the trend with other countries and as improve the economy and to decrease the infant mortality. The second country we'll be focusing on is Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe actually is very has a weird motion. It starts with majority of the countries such as China and India, and then it goes down, improving, but then the economy starts to wiggle a bit, and death rate and infant mortality starts to decrease, but then it comes back up, and the economy shoots back to the left, decreasing the income per person. And this was because in Zimbabwe, there was hyperinflation of the, well, for economically, for the income per person, there was hyperinflation of the Zimbabwean dollar. And this was because people took private lands and tried to distribute them equally between the races because this was a time of racism. And this really affected the economy because maybe you're giving the land to someone that wasn't as good as a farmer who had it before. And it just changed the whole process and the time that people had. And since there wasn't a very good increase in the economy or income per person, there wasn't very much money to spend towards the healthcare. And since you're low on money, as a whole, as a country, you don't want to spend all your money on other things. Just comparing the two, Sweden and Zimbabwe, Sweden successfully uh, followed the trend and was able to make its way all the way down to a very strong economy with low death rate. And Zimbabwe, since it officially moved to US dollar, still maybe its income is increasing now, but it still has high infant mortality rates, unlike Sweden, which was able to use its money for the healthcare.